into our United Center studios. I'm Ruthie Polinsky alongside Cam Smith and David Haugh. Gentlemen, what a day it was here at the United Center and at the Advocate Center across the street.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, new energy, a new era with Bryson Graham starting as the new Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations. You can feel it, David. You can feel where he wants to take this thing and also where this organization could go.
As they say, it was palpable.
Yes.
Because it was all the newness, all the excitement, and I'm not sure he could have made a better first impression.
Stronger first impression. Obviously, you probably just got done watching Chuck and Ozzy right here on Chicago Sports Network. We will get to the White Sox here in just a bit, but we do want to start our conversation with Bryson Graham, the new face of the Chicago Bulls. He is in charge of this rebuild, and it all starts with him. Here are some of our biggest takeaways as we sort of dive into what we learned from our first interactions with him today. Obviously, he left a really good impression, displaying authenticity and humility right out of the gate. Multiple times, his eye for talent evaluation was mentioned as one of his best skills. We're going to dive deeper into that. And what is slap? What does slap mean? We're going to get into that. The priority for him is building a foundation over building a championship team. He talked about a head coach that puts emphasis on not just offense or defense, but both sides of the basketball. And overall, he wants everyone to know that this rebuild is going to take some time. Let's start our conversation with his humility. I think that was probably where it all sort of started for him.
Yeah, I think
right?
when you lead with the fact that when you got the news, he acknowledged that he cried. And you saw him reveal that in his audience that was new to him, the environment which is new to him, and you really had the sense that it was something that moved him emotionally.
He talked about what this franchise means to him, guys. Before we talk more, let's take a listen to what he had to say.
I'm always going to be transparent and just be myself. That's all I know how to be. And this is unreal. When Michael called and told me I got the job, I'm not afraid to say this. I started crying. I broke down, man. I was like, because this organization means so much to me. Me walking into this gym, like I feel the weight, and I want that pressure. It motivates me. It gets me going. There was nothing that Michael needed or Jerry needed to sell to me for this job. I'm humble enough to know that I was chosen. I didn't choose them.
I loved hearing Bryson Graham talk about growing up playing basketball in the 90s. You were a Bulls fan. Didn't matter where you were. He's like, yeah, I have some love for the Spurs. I'm from, San Antonio area. But he said it was all about the Bulls in the 90s, and he understands that history. Cam, I know when we talked about what are you looking for in this new Bulls executive, you talked about how important it was for someone to understand and appreciate the history here. Yeah. Feels like even though he's not from here, even though he's not Matt Lloyd, right, this is somebody that really has a deep understanding of what the Bulls' history is, and he made that very clear today.
And that speaks to the power and the impact of those 90s Bulls team and Michael Jordan, right? So Bryson Graham is 39 years old. I'm 40. So we're in that same era of growing up during the Jordan years, of idolizing Michael Jordan, wanting to be Michael Jordan. But also when you think about Bryson and his basketball career, played at Texas A&M from 06 to 09. So this is a guy that understands not only how to play the game, but how to think the game. And he sat down with Casey Johnson and I during our By the Horns taping, a special edition that's going to be coming out soon, everybody, where we peel back the layers even more to Bryson Graham. But he talked about how he had multiple ACL tears during his college career, and basically his career was stripped from him from a physical standpoint. But it was the mental side that helped him grow, and how it became him and the responsibility of being a captain for those teams, which he was awarded. And so I think that's how he grew his basketball acumen and his IQ. But he was inspired by the 90s Bulls, as we all were, right, with Michael Jordan, and he uses it to this day.
He was 11 years old in 1998 when they won their last championship, and I think he paid attention like every kid who was 11 at the time, if you're a basketball player. I also think this, he was asked a question about, well, did you interview the Bulls as much as they interviewed you, and what questions did you have? And his answer was also revealing. He was like, look, there's 30 of these jobs, and he's fortunate enough to be sitting in a chair interviewing for one of them. He didn't have a ton of things he wanted to know, except for when can I start, if he was lucky enough to get the job. And that was also revealing, because he is going to be one of these guys that doesn't take his position for granted, because he understands the organization and what this team could potentially mean to this city.
And he said that the title may have changed for him. Obviously, he's worn many different hats throughout his time in the NBA in terms of front offices, but starting from an intern to where he is now, he said the work doesn't change. Right. And that's impressive to me with Bryson Graham and understanding where this organization is, where they're trying to go. It feels like he's the right guy for this job because he's really taking this point of making sure that we're going to do this collectively. It's not just going to be me because I have the title of EVP of basketball operation. It's going to be us. And that's the guy that you need. That's something that the city of Chicago should be hopeful for.
I've walked out of a lot of Bulls press conferences. I've been here a long time. And I can't remember, I was trying to think today about the last time you walk out of it, whether it's United Center or the Advocate Center, and you felt this good about the future being in good hands, this promising. And that says a lot about what you heard today and how authentic. That's the word of the day, how authentic it was when he spoke.
There was a realness to him. There was a connectability. There was something about him that made you want to hear more and continue to talk to him. And it felt like it wasn't like he got up there and had a script. We got to know Bryson Graham in a press conference setting today, which I think was probably what a lot of Bulls fans are connecting to. And you mentioned that collaboration part. Let's transition our conversation a bit there because he did talk a little bit about what that collaboration is going to look like.
We're going to do this together. And that's from the performance room. That's from the communications department to the coaching staff, cap strategy, evaluation, every aspect of this. I don't ever want to put this on, I have the answer, because I don't. If I'm the smartest person in the room, we're going to fail. And so I'm going to make sure that we add the right group of people and we're going to pull in the right direction and we're going to win games. So it's not about me. It's about the Chicago Bulls as a whole.
You love someone who says there's no bad ideas, right? You love someone who wants people to come to you, tell me your ideas. We'll see. Let us figure out if it's a good or a bad idea. He wants a lot of voices in his ear. He wants to hear a lot from the people around him. He doesn't want to be the smartest guy in the room. What was your takeaway on just sort of how he anticipates the collaboration, the vision of what this is going to look like?
Well, you get a sense of humbleness from Bryson Graham with that answer, right? He understands that he doesn't have all of the answers. And yes, he does have the title of EVP of basketball operations, but he wants this thing to be a team. And I think I always say that sports is a microcosm of life. You need a team effort really to build, especially where the Bulls are, and get them back to a place where it's the playoffs or winning championships. But when he talked about, yes, we will win games, you didn't see him blink. You didn't see him hesitate with those answers. So with that humbleness, it's also an assertiveness when it comes to his confidence and what he wants from this organization and what he wants from himself, more importantly.
It's the ideal blend of humility and confidence. And I think when you see him command the room and understand that he doesn't have to be the smartest guy in the room, it tells you he's a guy comfortable in his own skin, as they say. And I think when you understand just what that means in terms of surrounding himself with the smartest, most experienced guys he can find, it gives you a lot of confidence that the Bulls are on the right track here. Who's going to be his general manager? Well, it might not be a general manager. Maybe they have a flat hierarchy in an organizational structure where he is the boss and everybody else, depending on the department head, collaborates, because you know what? They don't feel threatened because they're all going to be treated equally because he does respect everybody's voice.
I loved when you talked about the collaboration. He was asked about, what do you want in your next head coach? And, you know, he talked about it's going to be a collaborative decision. He looked at Michael Reinsdorf. He said, we're going to do this together. And Michael Reinsdorf said to him, nope, I hired you. You get to hire the coach, which is funny. It was a nice moment. And also, I think it's worth noting, I think it was so nice to see the two of them up there together today and just sort of the relationship that seems to already feel like it's established. There was a sort of comfort you took in seeing that there was already this sort of family energy going between the two of them.
Well, I think Michael Reinsdorf had a good day. I think he needed one too, because he began his remarks unscripted, apologizing to the fan base. I thought that was a nice gesture. Also, you could see the rapport or chemistry or just a relationship that is just beginning, but you could tell that they clearly hit it off during the interview process to the point where that was something you feel good about. There's not going to be any of this. It's all going to be like this. And I think that's encouraging from day one.
And Graham said that it was an extensive process during the interview process with Michael Reinsdorf and the Bulls organization. But he said when they got into their conversations, it flowed. And Michael Reinsdorf said the same thing with a lot of questions that people may have had about Bryson Graham in terms of, okay, well, if you would ask the Bulls in terms of, did you interview them? Or what about resources? Or the conversation of luxury tax came up. And Michael Reinsdorf and also Bryson Graham said the same thing. We had those discussions because just how things flowed with what we wanted and what we both view this opportunity to be.
And finally, I think that when you look at the importance of that, now he disputes a lot of the things. There's a narrative out there that might be inaccurate, as he pointed out today. Until you can change the reality or in a position to do that on the court, you have to worry about the perception. and you have to manage the perception better than, frankly, the Bulls have in recent years, historically even. So this was a sign that they're getting that part of it right.
Yeah.
And I think when you heard Michael Reinsdorf, you understood it.
Yeah, we talked about what it's going to look like when he hires a coach. I think that's really the next big piece that people are going to be able to sort of rally around and get excited about. He talked about what he's looking for in a coach. He wants someone who's going to prioritize both sides of the basketball, both offense and defense. He also talked about the type of player he's looking for, and he used an acronym.
Yes,
and we get
love
nervous about acronyms in this city. He doesn't know that, but we do get nervous. But I think it's important, and it was a nice moment. He talked about SLAP, okay? Size, length, athleticism, and physicality.
Yes.
Those are the kinds of players that he wants here. Cam, what stands out to you about that?
I think about the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? You think about the past NBA champions that have won the Larry O'Brien Trophy, the Denver Nuggets, the Boston Celtics. All of these teams, one, have depth, but also have guys that can play multiple positions, especially on the wing. So focusing on the reigning champs, the Thunder, but they have guys that epitomize SLAP. They have the size, they have the length, they have the athleticism, they have the physicality, and that's what puts you over the edge, not only just to make the playoffs, because we're talking about a team in the Eastern Conference, where you have to play both ends of the floor to have some type of success. So to have those guys on your roster to really attack, and we see it with 𝗦𝗫ci 𝗰𝗶𝗹 and what he's been able to do in his first 2 years with the Bulls, those are the prototypes that you need to build around to get this thing back to relevance.
𝗦𝗫ci was there today.
Yes, he was, sitting right next to him. Yeah.
It was notable that didn't necessarily mean that Bryson Graham had to pander and say things that maybe weren't true yet about being an untouchable or building around one guy. It's going to take more than that. And 𝗦𝗫ci was there applauding his new boss. And I think it was interesting that his new boss was very clear, as you point out, about what he's looking for. And maybe they have some of those pieces right now. Maybe they don't. But he's just getting started.
I did notice that 𝗦𝗫ci, when Graham talked about, about potential players on this roster becoming stars, 𝗦𝗫ci was sitting right next to me on the right during the press conference. He sat up in a seat when it came to stars being potential stars on this roster. So I'm like, hey, 𝗦𝗫ci, he's talking about you, right? So, it's one of those things really to see 𝗦𝗫ci and just kind of talking to him briefly about the brief conversations that he's had with Bryson Graham, along with Trey Jones, who was sitting next to 𝗦𝗫ci, of how, talk about the authenticity of just who he is and what he brings. They really like this hire for this Bulls organization. So again, another nod to where things are going for this team.
Okay, quickly, David, you had the chance to talk with David Griffin. What stood out to you about that conversation?
Just the rousing endorsement he gave him. David Griffin has a championship ring from Cleveland. He hired Bryson in New Orleans to run the drafts, basically director of scouting, and he has predictions of greatness here. And he said that he's going to be easy to get along with for reasons we've already articulated. He wasn't the only guy I talked to this week. Another one told me about a picture that Bryson Graham has in his phone of his first day as an intern for the New Orleans Hornets back in the day, unloading boxes, and it keeps him humble. And I asked him about that today.
It represents a lot because, you're starting from the bottom. And obviously I was the lowest on the totem pole, coming in, which is expected, which I think a lot of people think that, when you get into the NBA, you're just like given everything, and that's not the case. You really have to put the time in, and so that photo to me just means like that's who I am. I don't mind doing the little things that are necessary, whatever it looks like. Obviously this position it's a lot, right? But it's just a title. Like the work is what matters. And I got to be ready to pull up my sleeves because we're at the ground floor. And that picture represents that to me. Like, this is where you started, and this is back where you're at again. A different title, but this is where you're at.
Goosebumps.
Yes.
I mean, I get goosebumps, and I heard that this morning already. But he's just impressive, and he's honest, and he's humble, and he's authentic. And I think it's just a perfect person right now to be leading the charge.
That answer made every person who works for the Chicago Bulls, whatever they do, whatever job they're tasked with, feel like they belong.
Yes.
Feel like they matter.
Yes.
That they are seen and they will be important moving forward.
How about the people of Chicago to hear that from your new guy that's in charge of turning things around? They said, no, this is a blue-collar town. I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm getting this thing out of the mud. I'm dusting it off. I'm shining it up so we can be back on top again. You love to hear that from someone that's 39, that has that energy, that wants to turn this thing around. So it's the motivation that's there for
It was a good day.
Graham.
Yes. It was a good day. And I know he preached patience. This isn't going to be a quick fix. Right. But you know who else talked about starting from the ground floor last year? And they made the playoffs?
Who's that?
Ben Johnson. Just had to say.
Okay, Ruthie, I see where you're going. I see where you're going.
You never know.
Manifest it.
Who's their Caleb Williams?
Hey, Modest, what's up, man?
Modest.
You need to be the star. Come on.
Come on, Modest. He knows Caleb very well. Besties.